Everyone, George here, the Disney Italiano with the OG himself, Mr. OG 55, coming to you with some breaking news about finally where Monsters Inc. is going to be placed at Hollywood Studios. And it has something to do with the Muppets, but don't fret, folks. The Muppets are actually staying, but where it's going may surprise you. Coming up on Citrus Corner, part of OG 55.
Let's go.
Welcome back, folks, to another Citrus Corner part of OG 55. Today, we're talking about what everybody has been anticipating since D23 back in August when they made the announcement that Monsters Inc. Land was coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios and construction was going to start in sometime in 2025, but they neglected the fact to tell us where it was going. But based off of some old concept art, there was speculation between two areas of the park of where this land would be showcased. And it was narrowed down between the animation courtyard, which everybody hoped it would go, and the Muppet Courtyard that holds Muppet Vision 3D, which everyone dreaded it going. So today, Disney officially made the announcement that the Monsters Inc. land will, in fact, replace the Muppet Courtyard, which for us, it didn't really surprise us that the fact that Josh D'Amaro had two opportunities to make the announcement of where this land was going at D23 in Anaheim and D23 in Brazil, but didn't make that announcement. So why not? Because it could come with some controversy as to where the land was going. But today they actually showcased kind of like a concept art, like in a map view kind of way of like what this land is actually going to look like, which this is what we wanted to see at D23. But it's very interesting of how it looks. I'll actually come back to my thoughts on this, but I'm going to pass it over to you, bro, and you tell me your overall thoughts on this.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are upset over this. And I've said it for a long time. You know, Muppet Vision 3D is very outdated. It's a 30+ year. When did it open? In 91, I believe.
1992.
92. Okay, so it's as old as you, George. Okay, so it's 30+ years old. Okay, and it shows it. It looks outdated. You know what I'm saying? Certain things age well over time. I don't think Muppet Vision has. It looks very dated. And so I've been saying in a lot of videos, eventually the time is going to come where Disney's going to have to address this 3D show, right? I mean, eventually, right? Maybe it won't be Monstropolis, but eventually down the road, they're going to have to address it. Okay. These theme parks are not supposed to be static museums, you know? Now, I also said, though, that this was Jim Henson's last piece of work. So that should also be respected. Okay, you know, it's a little different with this one because it is Jim Henson's last piece of work. So I suggested, you know, having like a Jim Henson museum or something of that nature and putting this film maybe even on loop in like a Jim Henson museum or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So there's ways around it. But in terms of my overall thoughts, George, in terms of like them removing it, honestly, dude, it's time. It's an outdated show. There's ways, and Disney did mention this today, that they, or we I don't know if they mentioned it or if it was reported on, from various outlets were saying that Disney, no, it was actually from Disney. They did confirm it, that Disney is looking for ways to utilize this show. So whether that be putting it on Disney Plus, maybe that means putting it into a different theater somewhere else or doing something with it to keep it alive. I think that's fantastic. And on top of that, yes, we're losing the Muppet Courtyard. Yes, we're losing Muppet Vision, but they actually compromised and they're retheming Rocket Rollercoaster with Muppets, which is a perfect retheme. So all in all, you guys and gals, okay, all in all, I'm fine with this. This is what they should be doing. First of all, the Muppets are actually going to have an actual attraction now, not just a 3D movie. I think that is actually better than the 3D show, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a really fair compromise for the diehard fans. I think the normies are going to eat this up. I have no issue with it. I know I know that's probably a controversial opinion, but honestly, I don't see much negative here. I think Disney handled it the best way they could possibly handle it. Go ahead, George.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to the Muppets taking over Rock and Roller Coaster in a little bit, but if we could go back to the concept art for Monsters Inc. itself. Now, it was reported that the Muppet Vision 3D theater is actually going to hold not the space for the e-ticket attraction, but a Monsters Inc. Theater show, whatever that may be. It could be a live show, it could be a 3D show, or a lot of people are speculating that the Monsters Inc. laugh floor over at Magic Kingdom might get an update put into this. And that's quite interesting because that makes me wonder, that'll be another thing knocked out of Tomorrowland.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Okay, so I brought up this tweet because I saw that too on social media, that people were speculating it might move over here. Scott Gustin is saying here, Disney says the Monsters Inc. land will include, quote, a whole new theater show in the current theater. It says here in the concept art, there is a billboard, though, for Monsters Inc. laugh floor at Magic Kingdom, but it's just a billboard, not a show attraction marquee, just like other billboards you see at DHS. I think even Hollywood Studios had like a red car trolley billboard and stuff like that. So Gustin's basically saying it's not happening. It's a whole new show. This is sort of just a billboard like they have around the park that isn't necessarily indicative of that show coming to the land. Now, I would honestly prefer a new show anyway. I don't know. I wouldn't want them to take something out of Magic Kingdom and put it in here for multiple reasons. Because like you were saying, George, you're taking something away from Magic Kingdom. So now you're going to have an empty building probably over there. So, okay, that's wonderful. Like Tomorrowland needs all the help it can possibly get. So let's have an empty building now. That makes it worse. But then you're also recycling an old show, a very old show. Like this is a new land. You know what I'm saying? Like let's get some new stuff in here. I don't know. For me, putting an old show in there like that would be a negative thing. Hopefully that doesn't happen. It doesn't look like it based on Scott's tweets. But what do you say, George?
I agree with you. I would prefer to just keep laugh floor at Magic Kingdom. Tomorrowland doesn't have a lot as is, so it needs help with everything imaginable, especially since they have that empty Stitch's Great Escape show building as well. So that would be two show buildings that would be completely empty in Tomorrowland. Plus, with this billboard, who's even really to say if this is the billboard that would be showcased once the land even opens? Because you know, like how sometimes Disney likes to pay like little Easter egg tributes into their concept art, you know,
exactly.
Where you can't take it literally. But I did find it interesting that there is going to be a show replacing a show, which is great. I can't wait to see what new kind of entertainment the Imagineers scare up. No pun intended.
That's no laughing matter, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We have to keep our eye on it.
Exactly.
So, but I did find it interesting that because a show is going in that space, and based off of the piece of concept art, you can kind of see where the factory that's going to hold the e-ticket is all the way in the back there. Now, I was talking to our friend Slimer earlier. Now, he suggested that it may be replacing the Mama Melrose restaurant, but I could be wrong. But I think the building that's showing to the left of the land, that big building, I think that looks to me like it's Mama Melrose. The position of where the factory is,
the parking lot.
Do you think it's part of the parking lot?
I think it's parking lot. Yeah, I think they're dipping into the parking lot, and that was one of my worries when we were talking about, they're not going to get rid of Muppets because they don't have the space. But then I checked the Google Maps after the show, and I was like, oh, but they got that parking lot right there. I believe that show build that e-tickets going in the parking lot.
Now that would make sense, yeah, based off of like every time that we looked at like the Google Earth kind of mapping. Yeah, and honestly, the parking lot is pretty big for Hollywood Studios, so I think that they can kind of loosen up and maybe take some of that for theme park space as well. And then you can see over on the right hand side, you can kind of see the little piece of Galaxy's Edge of the rock work as well. So you can kind of see the positioning of how this land is going to be. And obviously the other buildings on the other side, they're going to take up by replacing Pizza Rizzo, which I think nobody on God's green earth is going to fret of Pizza Rizzo going away. I do hope that they put another decent, substantial restaurant in there. I hope they don't keep it as a pizza shop and just retheme it to Monsters Inc.
Well, now
that pizza was god awful.
Well, this is Harryhausen's right here. What is this replacing? Because I've only been here once, so bear with me.
So that might be okay. That might actually be Pizza Rizzo.
Is it? I don't know.
That might be, or unless that's part, maybe they're adding the restaurant, kind of attaching it closer to the parking lot.
Gotcha.
And the other buildings are going to be. Pizza Rizzo might be that building that's kind of like caddy corner, like in that little nook
right
there as well. But as what you said, I am very excited for this land. I'm excited about the e-ticket. I'm curious to know what the show is going to be. To try Harryhausen's. I think it's going to be great. It was a very unfortunate, because I do love the Muppets, but it was a very lackluster section of the park that it just wasn't moving the needle. They weren't getting enough people over there to pick up any speed.
Well, and this is the thing, and a lot of people give Disney a lot of crap for dropping the ball on the Muppets as a franchise. I have to respectfully push back on that. How many times has Disney tried to reboot and reinvent this franchise? I think one of the Muppet movies did pretty okay. I think it was a 2010 film, The Muppets, that did decent. 2011 did decent, okay? But every time they've done a movie or a TV show or anything, it's been kind of met with a whimper. Like the culture isn't there right now for Muppets. It's just not a huge franchise, and that's okay. That's honestly okay, but it's not without trying. Believe me, Disney has tried so many times. Remember that ABC show they did? Where it was like the it was like more like an adult show. I think it was like more like The Office kind of style.
Office. Yeah, it had like that Office style kind of.
Yeah, but so they've tried, and this franchise just isn't really hot right now, and that's okay. Okay, maybe it's kind of a product of the 70s and 80s, more or less, I think.
Right.
And that's fine. We love the Muppets, but here's the thing. This is why I commend Disney, and I know a lot of people might hem and haw. Oh, look at OG, he's a pixie duster. Hear me out, though. They are taking this. They're taking the Muppet Courtyard and Muppets 3D, right? Muppet Vision 3D. They're getting rid of it, but they're compromising with fans. And they're saying, you know what, though, we're gonna give Muppets their own roller coaster, which is Rock and Roller Coaster. So you're not getting rid of the Muppets. The Muppets live on. The Muppets live on in a big way.
Well, I was just gonna say, now, literally, you just said Disney has tried so many times to keep the Muppets alive, and they're still doing it.
They're still trying.
They're still doing it based off of what you literally just said. And now,
exactly, George.
That would be a great segue. I'm going to actually move over to that side of the park where, yeah, on top of, Monsters Inc. replacing the Muppet Courtyard, the Muppets, yes, are still alive, well in doubt in this park, that it will be replacing Rock and Roller Coaster. And again, I was talking to our buddy Slimer about this, and I feel like, yes, I agree with you that this is definitely a compromise to not fully get rid of the Muppets entirely. And you're taking also an attraction that has been having a lot of operational issues. It's very outdated. Yes, it does get a lot of people into the line. I mean, it holds almost like a 60 to 85-minute wait. But here's the thing, folks. It's because it's a great thrill ride. It's a kick-ass coaster. No one is standing in line for 85 minutes because it's themed to Aerosmith. Let's be real on that.
No one knows who, like, I mean, not no one knows, but kids today don't really know. They're not too familiar with Aerosmith. They're more familiar with,
Monster on the beat, ho.
you know, our boy Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? Who dropped an album today, which is actually pretty good. Squabble Up. It's a great song. No, but I digress.
Nice plug.
Yeah, that's all a plug. There you go. So no, but in all seriousness though, yeah, this is a smart move because number one, you compromise with fans and say, look, you know what? We love the Muppets, right? So we're gonna move them over here to Rock and Rollercoaster. So the Muppets live on with this great coaster. Right now, they're actually getting an attraction though. It's not just a 3D show. Number one, and number two, you fix the Rock and Rollercoaster problem because Aerosmith is, let's be honest, not exactly relevant. And Disney's probably tired of paying a licensing fee to use it. So you do an in-house IP like this. I think it works really well. You can. It's kind of like an IP. It's almost like you can overlay it into Rock and Rollercoaster, and it fits seamlessly. There isn't a whole lot you really have to even do to change this thing to make it a Muppets roller coaster,
well,
you know?
And that's what I wanted to ask you, because again, Slimer and I were talking about this. How much really of an overlay would it take to do this? Now, obviously, if you kind of look at the ride vehicle on this poster here, you can kind of still see it as that super stretch limo kind of vehicle, but it's just repainted with a lot of vibrant psychedelic colors, which that's really all you need.
That's all you need. And you'll have along the way during the coaster, before you had like freeway signs and stuff. I think it was like LA, right? Mm-hmm. They're probably going to change all that, you know, and obviously you're going to have Muppets along the way now. You know, you're going to see, I think it's Electric Mayhem is the group this guy's in, right? Yes. You'll have him and Animal and Kermie and all them on this coaster as you pass by, as you whiz by. So there'll be new set pieces to represent the Muppets. They'll probably keep some of that LA vibe, you know, because the Muppets they exist in our world, so you can kind of put both. Really, it's kind of perfect, man. I don't understand why people are complaining.
And I think you're right, because if you look at the poster, look in the background, you see palm trees.
Exactly. So it'll be like the Muppets Go to Hollywood or some shit like that, you know.
Which actually fits in really well with the original Muppet movie, because that was them to make it to Hollywood. You know, that was to get their big break. Yeah. And I think honestly, if I couldn't get my Goofy movie layover of Rock and Rollercoaster, the next best thing to keep the Muppets alive, I'm very happy and satisfied with this. Now, here's another one of my theories, and we were kind of bringing it up earlier on in the show, and you tell me what you think. Now, okay, where Rock and Rollercoaster is located, just off of the Tower of Terror past Sunset Boulevard, it kind of has its own little area, so to speak. And it was an area that was really not really named. It was just kind of like you walk through the archway and there's the building of Rock and Rollercoaster. And then you walk down a little further to your right, and that was the building that held Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. So currently, the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy has gone away permanently and is going to hold a show for the villains. Now, in time, by the time this all gets taken care of, because obviously Disney is going to want to keep Rock and Rollercoaster up and Muppets up until, as long as they can, up until when the construction is needed to do this. Now, I also talked to our good friend and also collaborator of the channel, Mr. Webba, and I had told him that I wonder if they're going to keep Rock and Rollercoaster opened up until the fact Monsters Inc. is operation. Because if you take out Rock and Rollercoaster and the Muppets, you're knocking two attractions out for the park.
And I don't think this Muppet thing is going to take too much time, to be honest with you.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I really don't think. Look how fast it took for them to retheme Tower of Terror to Mission Breakout.
I mean, I think it went down, if memory serves me correctly, I think it went down like in January or something like that, and it was up by that summer, May or June.
May 27th.
I think we're looking at a very similar timeline for this, because again, you don't have to completely gut this thing, because a lot of the stuff you can keep it very LA, very Los Angeles, and you just have a few Muppet references along the way. Obviously, you would change the soundtrack and things like that, but I mean, you know, obviously the queue as well, but you can probably knock this out 6, 7, 8 months, dude. And
No,
unless they want to go super ambitious with it, that I'm not aware of, and we're gonna have like crazy stuff in there. I really doubt that, though.
yeah, I doubt it too. I think they're going to want to kind of get these things kind of up, especially because this was a project that really wasn't. If you really want my opinion, I have a feeling that this project really wasn't planned.
Me
I
too.
feel like this was the delay why they couldn't give us the actual location for monsters in the first place, because they were trying to figure out what they could still do with the Muppets to give it a less of a blow.
Yeah, because they saw a lot of pushback from the nerd community, right? The Disney nerd community for the Rivers of America, and they're like, oh man, and now we have this Muppet thing on the horizon. What are we going to do with that? Because we're going to get another blow. So they were figuring a way to sort of compromise. And honestly, dude, look, I'm very critical of Josh D'Amaro. Okay, I'm not here to always sing his praises. Most of the time, I criticize D'Amaro. Okay, like 90% of the time, I do. On this, I think this was handled flawlessly. I don't think you couldn't have done a better. You couldn't have handled it better. If you're going to replace the Muppet Courtyard, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You upgraded this franchise. It went from a 3D movie to an actual attraction. I don't see how that's a bad thing. And you still get to keep, this is the other thing, you still get to keep in some form the Muppet Vision, because it says here from Scott Gustin, Disney says there is still time to enjoy Rock and Rollercoaster and Muppet Vision 3D. Also, about Muppet Vision 3D, Disney says, quote, we are having creative conversations and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future. So you could, hey, look, you know what? We love cake here on the channel, right? You can have your cake and eat it too. And if you, honestly, you're going to have cake though, you're going to want to eat it, right, Jordan?
Of course.
I mean, you know, who does it, right?
Just shove it all in your face at once, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's how we do it, you know what I'm saying? No, but in all seriousness though, like, you know, it makes a whole lot of, I mean, look, you're still going to have this show in some form.
Right.
This experience in some form. Muppets get to get an actual attraction, an actual roller coaster, and you get to upgrade this whole back end of the park over here and get a brand new land with a brand new roller coaster and all this other stuff. I don't see the downside of this. I get it. Fans are like nostalgic and you get like mentally married to this stuff, but these parks are meant to evolve. I get it. You're not going to love every change announced. I mean, you shouldn't love every change announced. That's not healthy, you know, but we have to know that like these things are meant to change. I don't understand where like Disney fans, like they get so upset over like any kind of change, man. Just because it's an old thing doesn't mean that it should never be replaced. You know what I'm saying? Within reason, obviously you have to have a little bit of like, it's a balancing act. It really is. Okay. Obviously, but come on, this show really outdated. It was time. And I think they're making the right call here and good for Josh D'Amaro. So I'll say it right now. Good for Josh.
I agree. This was the proper way of how to handle it, and he handled it well. And speaking of that, for me, this is my speculation. This is my thought. So I'm going to throw it out there into the universe with my manifestation Italiano powers. Oh, so getting back to what I was thinking, what if, because they were saying of new and different ways how to preserve this show for fans to enjoy in the future, that Rock and Roller Coaster area, what if that becomes a newer, up-to-date version of the Muppet Courtyard? Sort of how like they did with Festival of the Lion King. Festival of the Lion King was never in Africa at Animal Kingdom. It was over at Camp Mini Mickey. When they removed Camp Mini Mickey to put Pandora in, they moved the theater over to Africa, and Festival of the Lion King stayed because fans were worried that, oh my gosh, we're going to lose Festival of the Lion King. What, in a way, if history repeats itself with the Muppets, what if that whole Rock and Roller Coaster area becomes an up-to-date version of Muppet Courtyard? You get the Electric Mayhem roller coaster, and then in time, after all said and done, you know, while they're doing the construction on Monsters Inc., opens, Rock and Roller Coaster goes down to level the playing field that something is still open. They do maybe the 7, 8, 9 month refurbishment, and then the villain show that is in the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, what if that then holds the theater for Muppet Vision 3D?
It's possible. It's possible. They might even reimagine it in different ways where it's not the same kind of thing where like you sit for a 3D show. It might even be something like maybe in that little courtyard or that general area, they do a Muppet restaurant or something of that nature, a sit down restaurant where kind of like the drive-in restaurant, right? That you have. I think that's
sci-fi dine-in.
Yeah, you can even. I mean, maybe you can retheme the sci-fi dine-in or something. I don't know, but you can do a similar kind of restaurant experience where you watch Muppet Vision 3D, and it's all Muppets and something of that nature. Yeah, I think they're going to kind of think outside the box a little bit with this. I don't think we're going to ever see the film just sort of transplanted to another theater and we're just going to sit and watch like we used to. I think it'll be incorporated into some restaurant experience. Maybe it'll be incorporated into some sort of like exhibit, like walkthrough thing about Jim Henson at Hollywood Studios. Maybe it'll be part of the queue for the new attraction.
I was just going to say that. Maybe it's part of the queue for Electric Mayhem.
Exactly. So I think it'll live on in some capacity. Disney's saying that they were looking into that, creative conversations about that. So yeah, I have no issue with this. We lost our Muppet Vision years ago at DCA. It was a cute attraction, but it was so outdated, man. I just think it's time. It's time. And, the Muppets are a fantastic franchise. Give them something a little more up to date, a little more fresh. They deserve more than a 30+ year 3D show. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
They deserve more than that.
As you had mentioned, and I agree with you, Josh Tomorrow, I think, handled it well. As much as we wanted to know where it was going to go right away, if it had to take this amount of time to kind of configure of like what steps and protocol to take of how we could keep the Muppets, add them into the park in a new way, and still get Monsters Inc. and what have you. And again, especially right now with the Little Mermaid show coming back to the Animation Courtyard, that's fine, but Disney may have bigger plans up their sleeve for the future of that space. So that they're kind of withholding of keeping the old animation building, which is now Star Wars Launch Bay, and the back offices. But in time, just like the old Muppets Courtyard, eventually that area is going to be used up too. But they may have bigger plans than just Monsters Inc. That may be for, depending on how they figure out the legalities for Marvel. That area may be for Marvel. That may be for the Incredibles, because we're getting an Incredibles 3. Exactly. Or it could be a whole new whole new area for a new Disney animated film. Like, Disney is always 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead of us.
And that's the conversation we had with Disney, with Drew the Disney Dude on the channel.
Yes.
That when people get upset, oh, well, why aren't they using the Animation Courtyard? Because maybe the Animation Courtyard is earmarked for some other thing. Like you were saying and what Drew's saying, maybe it's Incredibles 3, maybe it's some other property. We only know like the here and now. We can speculate on the future, but we don't know the future. Disney has obviously way more information as to what they want to do in 10 years. And the 10-year plan probably does incorporate the Animation Courtyard, but it's saved for something else.
Exactly.
So fans are very impatient, and I get it. If you are sad for Muppet Vision 3D and the Muppet Courtyard, I respect that. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously it's a cute area. There's nothing wrong with that. But just as a Disney park fan, though, we just have to understand that these things change. The DNA of the Disney park is change. And again, I'm not saying you got to like everything. I'm not saying you got to be a corporate ass kisser. But we at its core, though, these parks are designed to change and meant to change. Some of this stuff is to be expected eventually. Your favorite thing or one of your favorite things might be on the chopping block one time. If that bothers you, if that prospect bothers you, then being a park fan, especially a Disney park fan, might not be a thing for you, because these are not museums. And eventually something that you like will probably get removed one day. I've had it happen to me all the time with stuff that I've liked. I mean, my red car trolley is leaving. I love the fucking red car trolley. I know, exactly. It's George's fault. But exactly, I love the red car trolley, and it sucks to lose it, but it's like, okay, I get it. It's a theme park, and it's going to change. It's going to evolve, So it is what it is. But if you're sad about it, that's okay. But I mean, it's like, I hope it's not like another like situation where it's like people are going on about this for like years to come. Like, come on, like let's be sad and then let's move on. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you. But yeah, so that is the breaking news coming from Orange Grove 55. It's a Citrus Corner, and glad to be back doing a Citrus Corner. We were kind of waiting for something to break news because we've been not having too much to cover lately. So now we have something to talk about, and definitely everyone comment down below with all your thoughts, opinions, suggestions, everything that we talked about from the Monsters Inc. land, the new show that's going in there, the e-ticket attraction, Harryhausen's, the Muppet Electric Mayhem roller coaster, replacing Rock and Roller Coaster, anything you want to talk about. All we ask is please keep it civil. And we want to thank everyone for joining us. And as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.